It's based upon love, not based upon, I feel guilty and I need Allah to expunge and remove all of my sins, which we do want. We want ghufran. But see how Imam al-Harawi begins here with teaching us the way of targheeb first, right? Targheeb means that he is giving us hope, right? He's giving us something to grasp onto and think that things are not to be in a desperate state. There's always going to be hope. Imam Abu al-Qasim al-Qushayri does the same thing in Risal al-Qushayri, another very famous kind of primordial text in this science, right? Because he starts with the biographies of all those people who were astray, and then they came to Allah. Why does he do that? Right? Why does he talk about Abu Yazid al-Bistami, and he talks about Fudayl ibn al-Iyad? Some of them were highway robbers, some were thieves, some of them were very far away from Allah. Why does he bring those people first? And he talks about them. Because he's showing no matter where you're at, right, no matter how lost you think it is, it's never lost. It's as close as saying astaghfirullah. It's as close as a tanbih, right? He calls it the light, nur tanbih. So this person actually who's sinning, it may be an active state of sinning, but once they have a awakening, he calls it nur. It's a light. They've become enlightened because they realize I want to stop. Even if they have difficulty stopping, but that's an enlightened soul. Now that they have a realization that they want to move on. So he says, remember these three things in the beginning. Think about the blessings you have. You can't count them. You can't limit them. And you will never be able to give them their right. And if you're never able to give them their right, then all you're doing is having adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And doing that which He has commanded you to do. Right? And that's not repaying for the blessing. This is doing what you're supposed to do as a faithful servant of God. Then he moves on to the other wing of inner life, which is tarheeb, which is we have to come to terms with, wait a minute, I'm making mistakes, and I have to do something about them. So then he said the first consists of three things. The first is thinking about the blessing and its three components. The second is to examine the transgression, realizing the danger it involves, preparing oneself to setting it right, ridding oneself of its noose, and asking to be saved by cleansing it. So he says, مطالعة الجناية والوقوف على الحذر فيها والتشمر لتداركها والتخلص من ربطها وطلب النجاة بتمحيصها. So now we're looking at the sin itself, right? Or the sins themselves. So yes, we have the path of enlightenment, we have recognition of blessings, but Islam, or this way of life, is not just about the individual, right? And some people mistake some of these Sufi-oriented books and they say, yeah, it's very exclusive and it's just about you being a good person and it's about ignoring everybody else and it's kind of very individualistic, maybe egoistic a little bit. Nothing could be further from the truth. Because when we talk about sin, when we talk about transgression, more often than not, it involves impinging upon the rights of others, right? Hurting other people. And that's about community, right? Islam is not a deen where you have this great relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and then you can step on everybody else, right? We don't have this type of sanctimony in the deen. And we don't have something where you are of a higher status so that somehow gives you some type of license, right, to treat others in a different manner, right? We don't have this categorization of level of believer. We don't have castes, right? We don't have people are on the in and people are on the out. Everybody is the same before the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that transgression is enormous, right? Because from a couple aspects. One, who are you transgressing against? Allah, right? The same one who gave you ijad and imdad, He gave you existence and continuing your constantly recreating your existence and gave you life and continuous life, and now you go against all of that. So if standing in prayer is showing gratitude, then what is transgressing then, right? That's called al-kufran bin ni'mah, right? And kufran is a very close word to kufr. Kufran means not recognizing the blessing, not giving its due in preserving that blessing by using it in the way that Allah intended for you to use it. And so it's not a big jump from kufran to kufr, right? And that's what happened to Iblis. La'anahullah. It's exactly what happened to him. he was amongst the most pious, at least outwardly, right? He was amongst the angels. Not all of the jinn got to be with the angels, right? And be asked to prostrate, which was a prostration of ta'zeem, right? And it was actually honoring the angels. Allah honored the angels by asking them to prostrate before Adam alayhi salam. He was not debasing them. He was not asking them to do something that would make them debased or lower than Adam alayhi salam. It was a prostration of ta'zeem, right? Not of ibadah. They weren't worshipping Adam. But he said no. Why? Because he couldn't get past himself. He couldn't get past the idea that this is not a blessing. He didn't see it as a blessing, right? Instead of a ni'mah, he saw it as a niqmah. Niqmah is the opposite of blessing, right? That maybe God was mocking him, right? How could he ask that, right? أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّن. I am better than him, right? I am from fire, he is from clay. That means, Ya Allah, you're wronging me. That's what he's saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that began with kufran in ni'mah, all of this ni'am. None of us are going to worship Allah as often as Iblis did before he fell. He was around for thousands of years, constant prayers amongst the angels. None of us are going to measure up to that, right, outwardly. But when it came to the time of the imtihan, right, of the test, which was actually a blessing in disguise, he failed miserably, right? And he said, "Ana khayrun min." He was the first one to say the word I, ana. No one in the celestial realm ever said that word before. He said it. And then when he said the word ana, then he started not recognizing the blessing. Then he lost his way from kufran in ni'mah to outward kufr, right? And you could say, how is Iblis kafir? Didn't he know that was Allah and that he created him? Of course he did. That's why he said, Rabbi anzirni ila yawmi yub'athun. He actually made a dua. He said, Allah, give me pause until the day that they are resurrected. That means huwa amin bil ba'th. He believes in the resurrection in the last day, right? Which is one of the pillars of aqeedah. So he believed that. So how was his kufr then? His kufr is then in his kufran in ni'mah led him to accuse Allah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something that's impossible. That Allah can actually wrong someone. That's impossible. Not possible at all. And if you don't understand that very basic aspect of the divine decree, then you don't understand anything, right? And that's exactly what happened to him. And now we have many people who fall in that, unfortunately. They say, how could this happen to me? Why has Allah left me like this? Why are these things going on? Isn't Allah watching? So forth. And it will lead them from that kufran ni'mah to al-kufr, wal-a'udhu billah. To actually denying Allah in the sense that you can even believe that He can wrong you in that particular way.